I am Ghulam. I live in Dharamada village, Afghanistan. I was married to Fayez at 11. He is 40.
I am Samina Sharista Balami. I live in Rajasthan, India. At 15, I was forced to leave my home and marry a man I had never before met.
I am Mawaka Simbayel. I live in Chikutu, Malawi. I am 11 years old. My family's crops failed one summer and we had to borrow money from our neighbor to eat. I was then sold for $16 to pay off my family's debt.
In 2003, over 51 million girls married under 18 in developing regions. This is expected to rise to over 100 million within the decade. As of now, child marriages rates remain at Child marriage is a form of forced marriage, taking place before the consent of a child would be valid. Child marriage is most commonly practiced in developing regions of sub-Saharan Africa, Western and Southwestern Asia. There are multiple reasons behind this specific practice. Firstly, women in many cultures are seen as an economic burden and are married off quickly as a result. They are commodified, traded and sold to husbands from their families, especially in regions which struggle with poverty and unemployment. It additionally serves a purpose in retaining honor to a family and strengthening certain family ties. Religious views serve a purpose as well. It is seen as important to marry a girl off early to protect her virginity before matrimony. Often once she loses her virginity too, she must marry, including one's rapist. Conflict also plays a role in pressures to marry daughters younger, in order to ensure their stability and financial security during wartime hardship. Child marriage has very negative effects. Things such as abuse, health complications, and a lack of education. Women married young cease their education and instead take on domestic roles. They're often abandoned or widowed, making them destitute without the support of a husband. Lack of education prevents girls from supporting themselves in any sort of independent occupation and attaining self-satisfaction. It additionally makes women less likely to use protection in intercourse or to know of rights to protect themselves from abuse and marital rape.
Saida, married at 9 to a 60-year-old man.
If he saw a shoe or a stick, anything, he would beat me with it. I spent 7 years with him, as if I was sitting on a hot stove all the time. I had 4 miscarriages because of the beating and the stress. He would say I was his daughter. He actually sold me to 3 or 4 people. You understand what I mean?
Prostituting one's wife is not uncommon, especially in impoverished regions with little opportunity for income. Girls may be exposed to having sex with strange men as young as 8 or 9. Sex is not optional for many females in marriage, and beatings to keep one's wife in compliance is tolerated. Domestic violence is seen as a private affair, to be uninvolved with authorities in developing regions where child marriage exists most. Most drastically, this could lead to things such as honor killings, and we've seen a 57% increase between 2011 and 2012. Girls are at the mercy of their husbands and may even be forced into domestic slavery and performing painful labor. It is common for these girls to develop mental illness as well, such as post-traumatic stress disorder or depression. These girls are exposed to sex far sooner than their bodies can compensate. Having sex before puberty may result in vaginal tearing, internal bleeding, infection, and anemia, which is an iron deficiency illness. Complications of impregnation before being physically matured causes obstructed labor, eclampsia, which is a form of life-threatening convulsions and seizures brought forth by pregnancy, the development of fistulas, which is a third hole between the anus and the vagina which may leak feces, causing both agonizing pain and social isolation, as well as a higher infant mortality rate. An underdeveloped body means the baby is born more susceptible to complications, diseases, and general unhealthiness. And within impoverished conditions, young brides lack the general health and prenatal care, resulting in either their own easily savable life or facing the psychological pain of losing a child which could be saved. Some countries, such as Saudi Arabia, have no minimum marriage age, but many countries are cracking down on their laws. Malawi changed its minimum marriage age from 15 to 18, and Ethiopia promised to fine those who marry under 15. But if these changes are being made, why isn't the practice decreasing? Governments turn a blind eye, and cultures reign stronger than law. Cultures and religion with noticeable gender inequalities refuse to change, claiming child marriage to be a part of their traditions to treat women unequally, valuing family reputation above all other. Rural regions are rarely enforced of child marriage laws, and it has become evident that by outlawing this, it is an underground, secretive practice. It seems that education of girls can most certainly help prevent child marriage, through girls understanding their basic human rights and being able to contribute to the economy rather than just being married off. But why aren't they? Aside from just the cultural pressures for girls to enter domestic roles rather than receive schooling, other issues exist. Things such as restricted movement due to war and illness, shortages of female teachers, shortages of teaching facilities, especially in rural areas, and the inability to put girls in schools due to poverty. The concept of female domestication is so heavily ingrained, girls are actually threatened when trying to receive an education. Terrorist attacks are likely, and groups such as the Taliban have thrown acid in girls' faces. It is imperative to acknowledge that education of girls is a preventative measure to child marriage by making girls 6 times less likely to marry before 18. It's not a hopeless battle. UN created the International Day of the Girl on October 11, 2011 to create global awareness of female inequality. UNFPA has announced a $20 million investment in adolescent sexual and reproductive health in India, Niger, Zambia, and Guatemala.
Since Plan's child marriage project started in 2008, there has been a documented decrease in the amount of teen pregnancies and marriages, and an increase in positive attitudes towards girls' rights. It's estimated that 53,000 girls are benefiting from this project. These girls will have a brighter, healthier future with opportunities for education and economic independence.
We need to create incentives or pressures upon societies to liberate females. These pressures on external countries could include things such as restricting trade and isolation from unions to those that devalue women. Girls should be recognized by law as people rather than property. Funding needs to be implemented to help alleviate poverty by increasing possible jobs, skills for workers, as well as education. Girls need to be educated to protect themselves of their rights and from them to additionally contribute to the job market and gain equality with men. We need to support those already married with sexual and prenatal health services, as well as violence refuge shelters. We need to address the cultural and religious justifications for child marriage, and finally, we need to raise awareness on this complicated and diverse issue.